Dr. Morey, Uncivilized Vitality with a gear review, and I want to talk about this quick today. So an essential piece of gear is to have a poncho. You can wear rain pants and a rain jacket, which is fine, but then they only serve the purpose of rain pants, rain jacket. You can use your drum liner or your garbage bag or even an Uncivilized multi-hood as an improvised rain gear and an umbrella. But I've always found that having a poncho with me is such a great multi-use item. So this is just a USGI shape-sized poncho. It's a slightly different. It doesn't have that coating, that heavy-duty coating that a surplus USGI poncho will have in it, but the dimensions are the same. And it's got the grommets and the snaps down the side at all corners. And I added an extra grommet on the short end right in the center so that I can use this in several different shelter configurations. The USGI poncho. I also use it as a ground cloth a lot. The poncho folds up really small and takes up very little room. Man, this one smells good, like campfire. Takes up very little room and is such a multiple use piece of gear that it is great to have with you at all times. No reason not to have a poncho in your kit. Rain, weather, emergency shelter, lots of different uses. We have other videos about the Wilderness Survival or Wilderness Innovations Poncho Survival Shelter System, and that's a heavy-duty poncho. Takes up a lot more room and weight, but it can be configured in so many different ways, even as a hammock. I wouldn't trust this one as a hammock, but you can rig this up as a small hammock, like a sitting hammock. But either way, having a poncho is a great, almost vital piece of gear to have with you. Now, the gear review today is something that'll make your USGI poncho even better, and that is a whoopee. Well, this is a special type of whoopee, a poncho liner. So in the military, you get these poncho liners, and at the corner of your poncho, you can tie them in with the tie-outs or run the corner strings through the grommet, tie it in. And then you've got basically an insulated blanket, and you can drape that over yourself or fold that over as an improvised sleeping bag or a blanket. The problem with the standard whoopee is it lacks a head hole to put your head through to wear the whoopee with the poncho unless you modify that yourself. But here is a great piece of gear that you could look into getting. This is the Swagman Roll by Helikon-tex. A Swagman, if I understand correctly, is like the Australian version of a carpetbagger or a hobo or somebody just out kind of living on their own. So it'd be a multiple use piece of gear. The Swagman Roll is basically a whoopee. It's a poncho liner. It's a large quilted blanket that fits inside the same dimensions as my USGI poncho, and it has the added benefit of being a quilted blanket. Not just a quilted blanket, but having the hood that matches inside my poncho. So let me show you kind of quickly what that looks like. So now if I'm dealing with inclement weather and I have to break up my poncho, but it's also a little cold, I can use my Swagman Roll by matching up my poncho. And instead of tying it in, if you can see on the Swagman Roll at the corners are these little sewn in toggles, little plastic toggles. And what you do is you find the corner grommet of your USGI poncho and you just push that toggle through there. Okay? Then we're going to go along the edge to the other corner, and I find that corresponding toggle, push that through the grommet. Repeat that at the other two corners. Now I'm wearing the microphone, so I hope when I put this on it's not too ruffly. But I do all four corners there. The only other thing I want to do is find my Swagman hood. Oh, you know what I should have done is made sure I had this facing the right way. Hey, we got lucky. All right, so I've got my Swagman hood pressed up into my poncho hood, and I've got all four corners of my Swagman tied into my poncho, and we go, I'll take this off, hold the microphone, we go up and over. And then I've got my poncho. I've got my poncho on the outside, and underneath I've got that Swagman liner, so this becomes quite a bit warmer. Right? Quite a bit more versatile. Let me just stick that there for a minute. And then I can still snap my poncho with these little buttons on the outside, the little snaps, not buttons. I can go down the side of my poncho and snap those in, right? And then I've got my side of my poncho sealed up, right? Like that. And then you can use one of your Uncivilized fast ropes or even the strings on your poncho to tie that around your waist and keep that tight. So not only is this waterproof now with the poncho, but I'm also a little bit warmer inside here because of the quilted lining, the Swagman Roll. Now my PSS system also comes with a poncho liner because it's not traditional USGI dimensions. It's got its own proprietary dimensions. We've got a video about that. That one I've used in the winter as my winter coat, and it's honestly just been too warm for me to use. But this one's worked pretty good for me in the winter, this setup, as a winter outer layer. I just snap the buttons up down the side of my poncho, and it keeps my Swagman Roll, or my whoopee liner, pretty warm. Right? So it's hidden under there. There's a couple things you can do that I'll show you in a minute. Everything you can do with the poncho liner inside, the poncho I can do without. So this, I bet that was just a roughly mess, but we'll see. Right. So now I've got my poncho. I've got my poncho and my Swagman. I've also got a very large blanket. So I have this quilted thing on the other side. I can wrap up in this. I can drape this over me as a blanket, which I've done several times, and it's quite warm. If I wanted to, and I had another blanket, like sometimes I have my my Patu with me or my Uncivilized multi-hood, and I can lay down under those. I can gather the hoods of both of the Swagman Roll and my poncho, and I can make a little hooch type shelter, a suspended shelter to crawl under, and then being insulated, it's quite a bit warmer to sleep under this than the poncho alone. Okay. So we can do a lot of things together with your USGI poncho. Now let's talk about Swagman Roll itself. Okay. So it's obviously a better poncho liner than just a standard issue whoopee. Definite improvement on that. Nothing wrong with the whoopee though. I don't want the whoopee lovers coming after me with the hate. I also have the whoopee. I love the whoopee. Okay. Now the Swagman Roll in and of itself is coated with a water repellent. It comes water. I wouldn't say waterproof, although you'd have to check on their website and their stats. But it is pretty water resistant. In a light rain or just some mist, you can use this without the poncho and still stay perfectly dry. It will saturate after a while. If you're out in the snow or heavy sleet for several hours, it's not as good as an actual poncho because it will saturate through and then you lose some of its insulative value. But it just adds to the poncho. So it's water resistant. The hood has a little Velcro tab on the back that you'll see that's going to be important in a little bit as a closure. The hood has a drawstring, so I can pull, put my hand in there. I can pull the hood tight and buckle that down, right? If that was my face. I can pull the hood down and get that kind of closed off, so that's nice. It holds its shape real well because of the way the seams are sewed, so it doesn't collapse in on your peripheral vision. I really like that as a hood. Right? The Swagman Roll has this chest pocket on the front, kind of a large kangaroo zippered pocket. And to give you an idea of how large it is and one of the other uses, you could roll this thing up and tuck it in different bags or pack it with your poncho. But the Swagman Roll is sewn and designed to be stuffed inside of its own pocket Oops, I stretched that out a little bit. It gets stuffed inside of its own pocket to make a nice carrying case. And that zipper is reversible, so you can zip that pocket closed. Get down in there. All right, in the interest of time, I'll just move on. So now I've got a pillow. So I've got a water-resistant pillow. I don't use a pillow a lot, especially in my hammock, but if I'm on the ground, I got something to sit on. It packs down in itself, doesn't take up much space at all. You can see that this is, what can I compare it to? About the size of a couple Nalgene's sitting next to each other. Right? And it's also got some of the uses of the Swagman printed right on the side of the bag. You can use it as an underquilt on your hammock, which I've done several times. It's not a cold weather underquilt, but it's nice for the spring and fall. And those toggles, I'll show you again, can be fastened to each other right around the shroud lines of your hammock to make a nice underquilt. You can use it just as a ground blanket, a standard blanket. It's got a sleeping bag configuration, and then of course the poncho liner itself, or just as a coat. Right? Then it's got this pillow. It's very versatile. So we've got that large kangaroo pocket, and what I do is when I'm getting ready to go to bed at night in my hammock, I'll throw the Swagman on, and then in here I'll just drop my phone and my eyeglasses at night, or my headlamp, anything I need close to my body, I put in here so I have it on me, and this provides an extra layer of warmth, and then I can get by with just a single blanket like a patoo, or just maybe a small overquilt when I'm in the hammock. Sometimes I've used it in the winter as a secondary underquilt. Okay? So that's the Swagman Roll as a poncho liner and as a pillow and as just an extra coat. One of the things you can do with the Swagman that they've thought ahead, so I'll wear this in my hammock at night, or I'll wear this to bed, just kind of curl up, or just around the camp at night when it's cold. The Swagman has these sort of elastic straps, tape tied on each side with a little side release buckle, and then the female counterpart tied in on the other side. And I can snap those, bring those around from the back and snap those into like a mat coat configuration. Okay. There are also some on the front, so I could take those. I should put this up here so they can hear me. I don't know, I think the microphone works while I'm holding it. We'll find out. So we have some of these here as well. I can take the ones from the front, and I reach behind my back under the Swagman and buckle that in, so it holds the front in around my torso, and I can wear it like that just to keep this part from billowing out. If I really wanted to buckle it down, then I bring the back, wrap the back around, and then do that. I do this configuration a lot in my hammock because it keeps the blanket from sliding out around me. And then I usually have a patoo I throw down over my lower legs, or sometimes if I'm being really lazy and don't want to carry anything, I will fold my poncho up, or my multi-hood, like a little sack, and put my feet in there to stay warm. And then once I'm sleeping, I can pull my hands inside here and stay warm, and just sort of like pull in like a turtle, right? Get inside my shell. All right, so it's got those little buckles. Another interesting thing that the Swagman Roll does, when this is off, the worst microphone user in existence, is they've gone even further besides those little innovations. There are drawstrings sewn into the Swagman Roll along the ends that allow me to gather this end up by pulling on the drawstring cords. Once I have attached that around the shroud lines of my hammock as an underquilt, I can use these cords. I can pull on these cords. Trying to get that out. And close this right down. So I pull those up, and that puckers right up to keep the wind out as an underquilt under my hammock. So that works out really well. Maybe I can roll in some footage of me using this on the hammock from my last camp or something. And the last thing I want to talk about that I thought was really cool is there's this zipper that runs around the edge of the Swagman Roll, and it's got this little tab that hangs down in the front. I can fold the Swagman Roll in half lengthwise and run this zipper all the way up, and now I've made, I'd close the hood off, right? But now I've made a lightweight sleeping bag, okay? Once you've zipped that shut, you can use the shroud clips that are halfway up to help you seal the sleeping bag closed. What I usually do is, if I'm using this as a top quilt in my hammock, I will just zip it up about a foot just above this bottom clip that helps hold the two sides together, and that's made a foot box. So when I'm in my hammock, I kick my feet down into that foot box at the bottom, and then I just bring the rest of the quilt up and tuck that under my shoulders, and I've made a top quilt. If you can just imagine me in my hammock, and I've made a little quilt. Leaves the bottom open, but if I'm already carrying an underquilt with me, or I've hung my my poncho or another blanket underneath, if you had two Swagman rolls, you'd be all set. One for a top quilt, one for the bottom quilt. Now, I do think this part, sleeping bag, is pretty cool, but let me show you the main drawback to this, right? Because you think, oh, that's really a good idea. It would be a good idea, but evidently, Australians are tiny people, because, let me show you. If I get in here and try to think of this as a sleeping bag, and I zip this up, it's only going up to my waist. There's no way I'm getting this closed with my shoulders and upper body in here. It's just not gonna happen, right? It's not even mummy bag loose. I can't get in it. But if it's not that cold out, or if I was just a little chilly, I could zip it up to here, and I could use my multi-hood as an upper body cover, or my patu, or even have my poncho as a little pillow. I could just make sure I have a sweater or something to wear at night, and then maybe I could get like the corner up over my top shoulder. So it could work as a sleeping bag. If I had kept my poncho attached at the corners and folded over, I'd almost be able to use this as just a straight bivy bag. I could sleep on a pile of debris, or just on the ground if it was dry in the summer, and be comfortable enough to sleep like that. I've tried it. It's a little too small for me. My wife could fit in there pretty well. That'd make a decent sized sleeping bag for her. But just the fact that this has the pre-thought out idea of having it zip all the way up, I thought was a great innovation, right, by Helikon-tex. So let me show you that right here at the end. I think we've got, so the actual dimensions, you can look that up on their website. It's Helikon-tex, it's the Swagman Roll. You see if we can come in and show them this. Helikon-tex Swagman Roll. I do know you can get these from them, the Helikon-tex, or you can get these on Amazon. There's several outdoor outfitters that carry the Swagman Roll. It's become very popular in the last few years. And they do have, for those of you that are price conscious, I'm pretty sure this is about, it's over $100, $140, $149, somewhere in that range. I don't know. I don't remember. It's well worth it though. It's a great piece of gear. I've been using this for a few years now, and it's held up great. There are no tears. There are no little fire burns. I don't use it by the fire a lot, but I do know that you can get, as one of my sons, we got him a Swagman roll. I don't know, Swagman Light or Swagman Basic, but there's another one that does not have some of the extra features this has. Like, I don't think it has the kangaroo pocket. I don't think it has some of the drawstrings at the end. It's just got a few less doodads, but that one's closer to, I think, less than 100 actually. And then that Velcro I mentioned on the back of the hood, another thing they've thought out is when I am using this as just a blanket, behind the kangaroo pocket is a slip pocket into which I can just tuck the hood and line up that little Velcro tab on the back of the hood. So now the hood has been tucked in, and you have a blanket that has that, the hood's been tucked through so you don't have that cold spot with the hood being open. So they did think of that. That's usually the first thing people say. So what about the draft from the hood? Well, you can just tuck it inside that little slip pocket, and it comes through actually on the back, but now the hood has been closed off and just makes a layer on the inside of the blanket. So that's the Helikon-tex Swagman Roll. I always have this with me. This is just part of my standard carry for all of my outdoor adventures, even in the summer. And then for half the year, it is my sleeping system. And in the other half, in the winter, sometimes that's my winter coat. But it's almost always what I sleep with. I pair that up with my USGI poncho, and I've got a system for foul weather. I've got an emergency system for extra warmth. I've got sleeping. I got an emergency underquilt. There's all sorts of things you can do with it. I recommend it highly. Helikon-tex Swagman Roll, and it comes in about 50 different camouflage colors if you order directly from them. So depending on what you want. And I think that's it. So comment below. What do you do with your Helikon-tex Swagman Roll if you like it? Where'd you get yours? That sort of thing. What other uses have you come up with that Swagman hasn't already thought of? Because this is it's kind of all in one. It's really good. And comment, share, subscribe, like. What else? That's it? Okay, good job.